Good morning, Jalita.
Good morning.
Hello, Julija, how are you?
Oh, good morning. Early morning in my country.
I can see you. How are you? Thanks for joining. So we are going to begin in 4 minutes. We are waiting for participants and other speakers to join. And yeah, then we will go live.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we
can hear you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Julija, just to be on the safe end, can you just make sure, do you have the option to share your screen?
Yes, but I would prefer you to share screen.
Yeah, we will. I just want that we are all in a good tech shape.
Okay, so in 3 minutes from right now, we are going to start our webinar at 10 a.m. sharply. So just stay tuned. To all the attendees, if you face any technical issues or have any questions, please just drop your questions or issues in the chat box.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Trials 360 webinar. Good morning, and we're glad to have you on board. Dr. Khushbu Khan is our webinar host, and she'll walk you through today's session. A little introduction on our panel today. We have Dr. Babar Saeed. He will be talking on capacity building. We have Dr. Mohammed Ahmed. Dr. Mohammed Ahmed will be talking on patient recruitment and success stories. Dr. Umar Hayat, Trials 360 CEO. He will be talking on clinical site readiness. And Julija Gabrusanoka, she will be talking about operational infrastructure challenges. Hello, everyone. It's 10 a.m. and we officially begin. Good morning and welcome to the Trials 360 webinar. Thank you for joining us. Dr. Khushbu Khan is our host for this session, and a little introduction from the team. My name is Dana Irfan and I am a CRA. Over to you, Dr. Khan.
Thank you so much, Daniel and team, for engaging the participant till we begin. So let's begin this webinar officially. Assalamu alaikum and a very warm welcome to all the attendees and speakers. I am Dr. Khushbu Khan, your host for today. My brief introduction, I am heading a preclinical and clinical team at Trial 360, and it is my immense pleasure to welcome you all to today's webinar on unlocking Pakistan's clinical trial potential, bridging sponsors and investigators. Once again, thank you to our esteemed speakers for taking time out of your schedules and joining us. A little announcement, we are live right now on Zoom and YouTube, and you can also catch our webinars update on LinkedIn. So beginning, Trial 360 was launched in 2022 with one goal to build a cross-border network to enable end-to-end clinical research in Pakistan and to grow our sponsor base. I would like to welcome Taha Asif, our business development representative, to officially introduce Trial 360. Taha, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Dr. Khushbuk, for the nice introduction. So, Trials 360. Trials 360 is the fastest growing CRO in Pakistan, conducting preclinical and phase 1 to 4 clinical trials. We are committed to advancement with the latest and most effective therapeutic treatments to improve patient care. We are headquartered in Lahore, Pakistan, and are working with United States, Canada, United Kingdom, Denmark, Switzerland, and many more. We have expert team based in USA and Pakistan. We have large network of sites. We have streamlined study approvals. We uphold global standards of data integrity, and our data is GCP compliant data. With clinical services, we are also offering preclinical services, which includes proof of concept studies, model preparation, safety efficacy studies, toxicology studies, and dose optimization. These are some disease mentioned on which we can create preclinical models for you, which includes mental illness, cardiac diseases, diabetes, sepsis, and many more. The regulatory framework for preclinical, the ORIC approval takes 4 weeks, and then comes the IRB approval, Institutional Review Board, which takes 2 to 7 days. Our in-house data validation model includes internal review, then it goes to the team lead, then the QA associate, and then it goes to the sponsor and our archiving room. Trial 360 also conduct clinical trials, and in clinical trials, we are offering clinical project management, which includes project setup, patient recruitment, clinical trial monitoring, resource management, risk management, data management, medical monitoring. Other than this, we are offering regulatory support, which includes documents preparation, IRB submission, RAP approval, preparation or filing of CTA, regulatory audit, IP management, vendor management. Other side, we are also offering medical writing, which includes protocol design write-up, informed consent forms, clinical study reports, manuscripts, posters, safety reports. The therapeutic areas we are covering in Trial 360 are oncology, endocrinology, pediatrics, hematology, vaccinatory, respiratory, and many more. The regulatory framework for clinical trials includes IRB approval, which takes 2 to 4 weeks. Then comes the National Bioethics Committee, which takes usually 4 to 8 weeks. And then comes the DRAP approval, which takes 6 to 8 weeks. At Trials 360, we are conducting single-center trials as well as multi-center trials. Over here, some properties of both are mentioned, which the single-center trial have the capabilities that are faster site initiation, it is cost-effective, it is centralized. On the other hand, multi-center trial, we have accelerated enrollment, we have access to diverse populations, and it's cross-site data harmonization. As Dr. Khushbuk mentioned previously, the Trials 360 is just a 3-year-old company, but it had opened the eyes of many people that in 3 years we have conducted these much studies. We have completed 11 studies so far, and 2 are again on board, which are in regulatory approvals phase. Pakistan has a very big population, which is 250 million. It's the highly diverse population. It ranked 5th. And it's 5th among high burden countries. In 2020, we were having 200,000 cases of cancer. We have 33 million individuals with type 2 diabetes. Approximately, there were 16 million Pakistanis with genetic and rare disorders. We have 91 RAP-approved clinical sites. We have 5 BE/BA centers and 5 bioanalytical laboratories. Trials 360 is more like a networking with all Pakistan. We have these are our partnered sites which are covering Pakistan. We have 15 hospitals in collaboration, 17 universities in collaboration, and 4 CROs in collaboration. Thank you.
Thank you, Taha, for such a nice presentation. Moving forward, Trial 360 or any CRO site in Pakistan, it presents a unique advantage in clinical research. You know, Pakistan, it has a large, diverse patient pool with high disease prevalence, which makes this landscape favorable for conducting a high-quality representative clinical trial. And why is that? Because it enables faster patient enrollment, access to treatment-naive patients, and stronger subgroup analysis. You know, if we couple this scale with rigorous ethics, GCP compliance, and reliable data systems, we can speed up evidence generation without compromising the quality or integrity of clinical study. On this note, we now move straight to our main session, and our first speaker is Julija Gebrosinoka. She is a clinical trial operations expert who founded a specialist CRO, which was later acquired by top 5 global leaders, and now she leads DAM research. She will cover operational and infrastructural challenges from site capability and data quality to GCP compliance, investigator training, and monitoring. Julija, over to you.
Many thanks. Yeah, could you share my presentation slides, please? Yes, thank you. While those slides are appearing on the screen, my name is Julia Gebrosinoka, and first of all, many thanks for inviting me to present those clinical trial operations in Pakistan. My name is Julia Gebrosinoka, and I have been in clinical research environment for more than 23 years. I led my own company, I sold my own company, I opened many countries, new countries for clinical trials, and I can freely speak and make this assessment as why certain countries are good for clinical trials and maybe we shouldn't go to different other countries. Next slide, please. Before going to the challenges, I would like also to provide some benefit data as why Pakistan is a great country where to conduct clinical trials. As previous speakers already mentioned, there are more than 250 million inhabitants and 20 plus ethnicities, as well as high disease burden. And what is very important, if you are looking at cost effectiveness, if you are comparing simply costs, average costs, per one patient participating into clinical trials, it's notably lower than comparison with the Western European countries. And as well, very important is if we are analyzing World Bank statistical data, we see that several indexes are clearly showing Pakistan as a great country which can be offered for international clinical trials and great place where to conduct clinical trials. Next slide, please. Now we will speak about challenges. Before speaking about challenges, I would like to highlight that it's not like those challenges are very typical to Pakistan. We still see in EU, in emerging market countries, in APAC countries, the same challenges happening as we see those happening in, or we know those challenges in Pakistan. However, of course, my task today is to discuss challenges in Pakistan. A limited number of research-ready sites. For today, there are at least 106 approved certified clinical research sites. However, if we are just simply comparing with Georgia country, because myself, I was opening Georgia in 2013 for clinical trials. Georgia is much smaller country than Pakistan. There are 172 ready or clinical trials currently conducting or involved in clinical research. With that, I would like to tell that there is a great potential in Pakistan to open more clinical or certify more clinical research sites. That's why this actually is a very important highlight to see that we can even go further. We can even open more sites in Pakistan, not only with staying with current 106 approved certified clinical research sites. Then we need, of course, to speak about challenges related to lab, storage, equipment, and IT. We know that nowadays clinical trials are becoming more and more complicated from a lab biosample assessment perspective. We know that more and more complicated laboratory assessments are required for clinical trials. Protocols are requiring those very complicated laboratory assessments. And it means that we must equip laboratories, we must update their systems in order they meet all the requirements that are required for nowadays clinical trial protocols. And there is again this challenge that we need investment and funding. Not only investment and funding, but as well as knowledge, because you can buy equipment. The question is, if this equipment is really worth the money you will pay, that's why you also need this knowledge. And that's why this international collaboration is so important in this point, to understand in order you are buying something for the best price and install at the laboratories, and then you can use this laboratory for international clinical trials. Then storage and equipment. This is, of course, also a challenge, but again, I'm coming back to the fact that this is not only a challenge for Pakistan, this is a challenge also for other countries, that secure monitoring storage is lacking for IMPs and biosamples, and it is scarce in secondary lower tier research sites. That's why, again, we are going back to the fact that funding is required and setup is required according to international standards. Yeah. And again, in order to do it more efficiently, also you need to collaborate with the different international, very known clinical trial sites who are participating or who were participating in clinical trials to understand how to better do it for the lower costs, IT and data systems. You know, again, I need to go back to the fact that the world is becoming more digitalized. Nowadays, everyone needs to see real-time data. In order to do it, you must have appropriate IT infrastructure developed, as well as appropriate data systems set up. And in order to do it, of course, you must invest in appropriate data platforms, because nowadays you can see and find the different data platforms on the market. You can buy them, but the question is, are they valid for the clinical trial conduct, for clinical trial data storage? That's why there are a great place where to expand, where to involve in Pakistan by investing into equipment, into IT environment, into data systems, into storage and equipment and laboratory facilities. But again, I'm going back to the fact that many years ago, when we started the clinical trials in my own country, in Latvia, we also see the same challenges. And now this process is enhancing, this process is evolving. And many investments have been done in my own country. And I see that everything is feasible. Also, this the same thing can be done also in Pakistan. And that's why investment in infrastructure is a solution, public-private partnerships, and very important, international collaboration in order you know how to set up it appropriately and how to do it for the best price. The next slide, please. Investigator training and experience. You know, if investigators, if doctors have never participated in clinical trials, the question is how they can know what is those ICI GCP standards, how they can know local regulations for clinical trials. And as I mentioned before, currently there are at least 106 certified clinical trial sites. That's why the question is how we can improve investigator knowledge in GCP and investigator, not only investigator, but doctor knowledge in local regulations. An answer is quite easy. Answer is collaboration again. Collaboration among CROs, regulatory institutions, and as well as institutions as hospitals. I can give example from my own experience many years ago in my own country, where at that time we only started clinical trials. my own country, doctors in my own country, they were not aware of clinical trials. They didn't know what that clinical trial means. That's why we organize the collaborations among hospitals, regulatory institutions. Hospitals invited CRO company representatives. CRO company representatives conducted training programs. They provided real experience from clinical trial oversight and clinical trial management. And I see that there is a great potential in Pakistan to collaborate and to really bring this knowledge and share this knowledge, because sharing practical knowledge, it really brings to success. And of course, we are going back to this limited previous experience with global clinical trials. Again, I can share experience from my own past. When we started clinical trials in Latvia, we questioned several investigators who participated in local and observational clinical trials, because we wanted to see if investigators have the same knowledge of GCP standards and local regulations as it requires by international clinical trials. And basically what we saw that those investigators who participated in local clinical trials and observational clinical trials, they didn't have such deep knowledge in ICI GCP standards as well as in local regulations. It means that, again, we are coming back to the collaboration. We are coming back to the collaboration among CROs, institutions such as the hospitals, and as well as regulatory authorities. At this stage, I would say in Pakistan, it's a must to reach this success when investigators are knowledgeable in GCP training and latest GCP standards, as well as local regulations. Next slide, please. Then monitoring and quality assurance. Challenges with on-site remote monitoring due to logistics and resource constraints. Yes, many trials sites lack essential infrastructure. That is true. And that's why it's very important to understand the meaning of remote monitoring visit. And in order to complete or conduct this remote monitoring visit, we must understand that sites must be appropriately equipped with not equipped, but I would say even set up with IT infrastructure and as well as data management systems. We are coming again back to that first, we need to set up appropriate environment at the sites, and then we can improve also monitoring activities. Because again, we need to go back to the fact that all world is becoming digitalized. We are using more AIs, and all clinical trial sponsors, they want to see real-in-time data. How to see those data real-in-time? Only when you can add those data into systems where systems immediately communicate with the central data bases, and customers or sponsors can immediately see data entered into on local data systems, which appears on the central data management systems. Yeah. That's why it's important really to start with building this foundation, enhancing, making this enhanced equipment at the site and developing IT infrastructure. And as well as it's very important to understand importance of electronic medical records on site. Because again, we are going back, those electronic medical records are real-in-time data entries. What has been seen that pilot studies have been started where blending on-site and remote monitoring visits. And again, we need to go back that this is possible only in better resourced facilities with advanced IT capability. Yeah. Again, first to build environment, and then other challenges will become less and less, and they will most probably automatically disappear. Yeah. It means that the most challenge currently is to equip and enhance and train those sites where we are seeing that they are lacking knowledge GCP, they are lacking local regulatory knowledge, they are lacking IT infrastructure, and they are also lacking strong, valid data systems. And of course, you know that nowadays it's not only a matter of if you can do it, it matters how you can do it, what is the cost to do it. Yeah. That's why it is important to see remote monitoring visits happening in a country, because it removes costs for traveling, it removes costs for CRA staying at the place where CRA must conduct this monitoring visit. Next slide, please. Then ensuring consistent data quality and compliance with international standards, which is very important challenge. But again, everything is it is possible to enhance everything. And what we have seen that Drug Regulatory Authority of Pakistan has released this edition 3 in 2025, where we see ICI GCP E6R2 and there are 3 important topics implemented. However, we still see that some very important, let's say, those topics that are currently seen in ICI GCP E6R3 are still lacking clear evidence in this latest edition 3 of DRAP guidelines. And those are very important: transparency and registration, adaptive and complex design, participant-centric perspective, data governance and e-systems, then vendor zero oversight, risk-based quality management, and decentralized digital trial. This is something that we don't see very clearly in this edition 3. But again, because the process is evolving, yeah, we see that it is that DRAP is adding more and highlighting and describing major those points from GCP. We hope that very soon we will see the new edition released, where we will see also those very important topics clearly described in this on those guidelines. Of course, as I mentioned, that electronic medical records are very important. Yeah, it means that site infrastructure must be developed, as well as data management infrastructure developed. And what is very also important, there are increasing expectations and guidances for sites to adopt international data standards, such as CDISC. For America, it's mandatory. Those standards are mandatory since 2016. Europe and EMEA, they are recommending those standards, and those standards are for data structuring, managing, and reporting trial data. Yeah. And also China is recommending those standards. Now, what is the solution of all those challenges I have discussed? Actually, it is enhancement and funding of laboratory supplies or equipment for storage and archiving. Of course, also for IT and data system enhancement and updates, as well as we need to see remote monitoring visits happening more frequently. But for that, we also need to see going back to the infrastructure development at the sites. And of course, we also must see later stage enhanced those specific and major topics that we are currently see in ICI GCP E6R3, also described in the next edition of DRAP guidelines. Many thanks. Thanks for listening and send your comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Julija. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Julija, for such an insightful talk. We have a couple of questions and we have received several questions in Q&A session as well. But as per the format and agenda, we are going to take all the questions at the end of the session. So moving forward, I have one request with all the participants to please share your questions in Zoom Q&A panel. And we are also going live on YouTube, and you can share your feedback as well as your questions on YouTube as well. So moving forward, our next featured Speaker in this session is Dr. Umar Hayat. He is a founder of Tri360 and HPC, and he is also a vice president at Union Therapeutics and managing partner at Revive Pharma. He has more than 2 decades of experience in pharmaceutical development, manufacturing, and supply chain. He has held several senior level positions in several notable biopharmaceuticals and played a pivotal role in development and commercialization of several quality of life improving therapeutics. So, Dr. Umar, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Khan, and thank you, Julida. I really appreciated the pinpoints you touched upon. I mean, definitely Pakistan is a potential market for the clinical research. Thank you very much. Can you move to the next slide, please? So I would like to touch, actually, I got this data from the very recent one, in fact, from the internet. If you look at the global trial market, it was valued around $60 billion in 2024, and it was anticipated to grow to $65 billion in 2025, and is anticipated actually to grow to the $123.58 billion in 2030, with the cumulative aggregated growth rate of 6.51%. So definitely, it's even from the business point of view, it's a pretty attractive market, in addition to the science and ethics, to bring the medicines to the patients who need it. And then I also went on the clinicaltrials.gov and looked at the number of the trials which have been registered. So it's more than 500,000 of the the registered trials on the clinicaltrial.gov. And if you look how many are from the Pakistan, it was a 4,405 registered trials, actually, which makes really like a 0.8%. On the other hand, the Pakistan, as you saw earlier in Taha's presentation, with 256 million people as of today, and then it represents like a 5th largest country on the earth. Not mentioning, like, if you take the diseases, probably we may be even, our position would be higher than the 5th. We may end up being 4th or 3rd. So with a very high prevalence of the disease, we also have the treatment naive patient population, and some of the rare and genetic diseases are not that rare in our part of the world, and that might be the case for other developing countries as well. But if you go back to the pharmaceutical industry, I mean, I have been the part of that. They all, I will say, more than 90% of the pharmaceutical companies never complete the trial in time, because they are conducting the trial in the, so to speak, highly regulated, compliant, highly well-trained professional kind of countries. But unfortunately, they don't have the patients. Now, my reason to open this business, even though I'm not a clinician, I'm a chemical engineer, is that industry is really shooting in a wrong direction. Because the challenges they perceive, I will say they perceive, and so many other companies as well, in the developing countries, is probably the quality assurance, the data integrity, the compliance, the GCP. All those challenges, in my view, are addressable. The challenge which we cannot address is to generate the patients, which we don't have in this part of the world. So that was the reason after to open the Trial 360. So independence of the factor, whether it's a business case because of the total market value of the clinical trials, or whether it's even like how many trials we are conducting in Pakistan or how many patients we have. I think it's very important to note that drug discovery and development, especially powered by AI and ML, is evolving so fast to the personalized and precision medicine. If we don't become the part of the clinical studies, we will be left out. And then we will end up with the drugs which will not be the relevant to our population. So it's absolutely necessary to bring the clinical trials to the subcontinent. So this way we have the drugs which are population relevant and effective. So I think that's even the more stronger program message why we should bring or conduct the trials in Pakistan. Can you please move to the next slide? So now if you look, I also want to think like how the different stakeholders in a clinical trials think and what's their mindset. For example, if you look at the healthcare provider or the patient, what they are looking for is really the effective, pure, safe, and high quality drug and with affordable cost. Because any individual who is a patient, he is socioeconomically a burden on the society and even for the family. So he wants to have the drug which is effective and safe and get out of the hospital as soon as possible. So this way he can contribute to the well-being of the family as well as the society. Now, if you look at the sponsors, I mean, they have designed their drug, they know the compound very well. They put together the nice data package for covering the safety and all the preclinical studies. They provide you the investigational drug. Stay on the previous one, please. Taha, can you go back to the previous, please? Okay, even for the previous. Okay, yeah, thank you. Stay over here for a second. So they provide you the investigational drug and provide you basically the financial support to conduct the clinical study. Now, they have done all these studies. The reason they are in the clinical, they have the confidence that this drug gonna work, okay? And that's why they are spending so much money, time, and the energy to move this forward to the next clinical trial. Now, if you look, their expectation is they wait for the positive outcome. Definitely, that's their right because they have some data to convince them that that drug is going to work, and which directly impact the financial well-being of the company as well as the fate of that program. Now, if the results are positive, nobody gonna ask the question. We're gonna all have the party, right? But if the results or the outcome is negative, believe me, they're gonna look into everything, whether it was a CRO who was involved, whether it's the site who was involved. So then we need to conduct the study in a way, if that situation happened, we should be able to defend and we should be able to justify that this drug is not working. And that's perfectly fine because we don't want to prove it either. Our role is just to conduct the study and present the data. Now, if you look at the CRO really is the extension of the sponsor. They have the specialized expertise, they provide the additional resources and tools to conduct the study. Of course, their thinking, their celebration is along with the sponsors. But when it comes to the regulatory body, okay, it's quite opposite basically. Of course, their purpose is to assure the patient safety, okay, and the rights, protect the patient rights, and conduct the study according to the GCP compliance, okay, and make sure that data generated is reliable because that's gonna make the basis for the approval of the drug, and that's what regulatory body does. If the outcome is negative, very simple, they're gonna never see the data or the clinical study, and they're gonna never question the results. However, opposite to the sponsor, if the results are positive, they are not going to have the fun. They are going to look into more details into the data as well as the quality of this trial. Okay. Now let's look from the principal investigator and site point of view. It really doesn't matter. I mean, the beating heart is really the site of the study. Okay. And whether the results are positive or negative, in both cases, they're going to be scrutinized. I will say if the trial is more successful, believe me, you're going to be having the scrutiny A from the sponsor, okay, to get ready for the pre-approval inspections, and the B, you need to be ready for the major inspection from the highly competent regulatory authorities like FDA or EMA. So from the site or sponsor point of view, they don't have much choice. In either way, they need to do the study where they can defend. Either it's in a negative case, defend to the sponsor, positive case, defend all the way to the approval of the process. Okay, thank you. Can you go to the next slide, please? Now we have established the site is really the beating heart of the study. And from the quality point of view, we need to make sure that they adhere to the certain quality parameters which are essential for the conduct of the clinical study. GCP adherence, I mean, of course, GCP is followed to ensure the ethical and scientific quality, okay, protect the patient rights, as well as the safety, maintain the data integrity and reliability. So that's all about is the GCP, and there is a guidelines. People should read it. They should have in their systems, and they should also come up with the trainings around that. And qualified personnel, from principal investigator to technician, every member should be qualified to do the job and should be GCP trained. Okay. Can I move to the bigger slide? I'm going to turn off my video because I have a difficulty to see on this small screen. Give me a second because it will make more sense. Okay, perfect. Thank you. So protect the patient rights and the safety and maintain the data integrity and the reliability. When it comes to the qualification of the personals, make sure that that site has the enough resources to conduct the study, and from principal investigator to technician, every member should be qualified to do the job and GCP trained. Protocol specific procedures should be followed. Safety reporting should be documented, including the adverse events or serious adverse events. IMP handling is equally important as the patient handling is, and so is the sample handling. The data generation and documentation is equally important. Now, the site should have the quality systems in place to cover all those requirements. For the SOPs, make sure you have the everything which is related to conduct the study, have the standard operating procedures, maintain it, follow the site and trial specific SOPs. I mean, I always encourage the people, if you don't know something, put into the SOP. Okay. And it doesn't need to be site specific. Of course, for the general operation of the site, you may have the SOPs, but there may be a special requirements for a given trial, and you may need to put the SOPs related to the trial specific. The SOPs should cover basically the informed consent forms, adverse event and serious adverse event reporting, the investigation of drug handling, data generation and documentation. The documents and record control, that's the next thing, which make sure that you have the system in place. Accurate and timely and complete documentation should be filed in the investigator site file. So what it means is basically A, the accuracy of the data, B, it should be timely captured. So there should be no backdating, or it should be recorded as it's being generated, and it should be completed in time. The source docs is very, very important because that's what regulatory bodies are always looking for, and you should have those in place, and the regulatory binders should be created, and confidentiality and secure storage of the patient data is also need to be guaranteed. So if you look on the requirement or the quality, it covers the every aspect. It covers the site, it covers the patients, it covers the personals who are involved, it covers the systems which are being utilized. So that everything should be recorded, and the procedures should be in place to make sure that the quality is not compromised. The protocol compliance, of course, this is something which always comes from the sponsor. It's a very steady specific. It's always better to have the understanding of the protocol, and if you need to do the additional like the trainings, better to do it. So the strict compliance with the protocol is very important. Yes, the deviations will happen. Make sure those deviations are captured and investigated. And if you need to put the CAPA in place, make sure that CAPA is implemented and its effectiveness is verified. The IP management, I mean, of course, the drug is what you are testing. If the quality of the drug which is being tested is compromised, definitely the outcome will be compromised. So make sure you understand the storage conditions of the drug. Make sure you understand how it should be dispensed. Make sure that inventory is managed very closely. Make sure you have the temperature logs. The one thing basically the regulatory body always looking for is the reconciliation of the drug, because they always believe that you may have not used the drug and you are reporting the data which may not align with the doses or the drug you have administered. So they want to make sure that every dosage unit which has been used is documented. So that's why the reconciliation of the drug is very, very important. Next slide, please. Dr. Khan, how much time I have, by the way?
Dr. Omar, you have 5 more minutes.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. The safety reporting, the timely identifying the issue and the reporting is very, very important, because that's where most of the clinical sites gets into the troubles. The sponsor and regulatory guidelines should be followed strictly when it comes to reporting those events. The QA/QC system should be like a QMS should be in place. Follow the religiously, I will say, implement the internal audits, because this is always good to prepare for the major audits, participate in the sponsor CRO visits and inspections, implement the CAPA where is the necessary, ethics and regulatory approvals, I will say obtain and maintain the IRB and IAC approvals and ICF forms in your systems. Data integrity and verification, follow what they call the ALCOA plus principle, which is simply what they call the attributable, legible, contemporary, original and accurate data, and any plus thing you can add to make sure that data quality is not compromised. Supports the source data verification. It's always very, very important. Next slide, please. I will be very quick. Now, of course, if you are conducting the trial, all those things which I have mentioned, which are the part of the quality, you need to have the training to ensure the GCP compliance, to maintain the data integrity we have talked about, to maintain the patient safety we have discussed. Clinical site personnels must meet the specific training requirements aligned with the good clinical practice and regulatory frameworks and the sponsor expectations, using the drug as an affordable cost. So let me say one thing. Training is the only place where we can prove to the sponsors that we can do the good clinical trials. Rest, everything can be either bought or can be put in place, but the knowledge and training is very, very important. There is a foundational trainings which we need to do, like a GCP certification, human subject protection, protocol specific trainings should be also carried out if it's necessary. Role of the specific, like a role specific, of course, the principal investigator is the key figure in the clinical trial. And then we should also consider the trainings of the sub-PI or the study coordinators. Make sure they are properly trained. Pharmacist who always involved with the investigational drug, he should have the good understanding of the drug as well as its storage, handling, dispensing. By the way, these slides will be available later on. And similarly for the lab personnel, they should be trained for the GCP as well as GACLP. Can you go quickly? I will go to the next slide. That continued doc record company keeping, we have touched very briefly on that one. Refresher trainings, I mean, very, very important. Protocol amendments happen, new staff joins, the old people leaves, the regulatory and sponsor interventions happen, the updates come. So that should trigger basically the refresh training. It really takes the lot of work to conduct the clinical trial, because we are the one who are providing the basis for the approval of that drug, because all the clinical studies are always conducted under the supervision of the doctors. But once the doctor is in once the product is in the market, there is a very minimalistic oversight, and the large population is exposed. So what we want to make sure during the clinical trials is, if there is anything which can go wrong, let's capture now. So once it's the large population exposed, that should stay safe. The compliance and oversight, that's another area where the site monitoring is becomes very important, and make sure that every piece of the data is saved and secured. So this way you can defend your conduct of the study when any highly competent regulatory authority like FDA or EMA shows up. Can you go to the next? I would be very quick. Give me one. Infrastructure, I think Julija has touched on this one very nicely. I agree with her. This is the area where we should invest. This is the time where a lot of digitalization is happening and technology is intervening. We should invest, do the capital investment in the people, in the facilities, in the technologies, to really have the competitive edge to attract the trials into Pakistan. it's not enough to say that we have the cost advantage, we have the patient population. I will say we need to invest in the other areas where we can really create a competitive edge to attract the clinical trials to Pakistan. Can you go to the next quickly? Same thing, I will say, go to the next one. This is something I really want to look at. Out of the 406,005 registered trials, this is the outlook of the clinical trials in different phases. But the most important, which really touched, was only 84 trials were where the results were basically given back or presented to the clinicaltrials.gov, which is basically nothing. We do have a lot of interventional trials, I will say, almost around like 4K intervention trials. Unfortunately, none of the intervention trials has gone to the phase where it become the part of the final NDA approval and FDA shows up your doors. Now, I will have to say this about the hepatitis delta trial because I know the people who were involved in this trial. AKU did this trial, and that site was the major enrollment site. We were expecting, in fact, Dr. Saeed was expecting, or the team was expecting, because of being a major enrollment site, we may be inspected by the FDA. Unfortunately, that drug didn't work and it didn't happen. So we are still looking for the trials where we may become not only the interventional trials, but also go through the process of the approval and become like a site audited by regulatory bodies like FDA or EMA. The COVID-19 vaccine was another trial, phase 3 trials. I will say again, a great success. It shows really the Pakistan ability to manage the large scale, time-sensitive study in a diverse population. Can you go to the next? I'm sorry, I'm taking a little time. In summary, I will have to say this because Pakistan offers exceptional clinical research opportunity with a growing infrastructure, quickly evolving and adopting ICH GCF's guidelines and standards. And thanks to the leadership at DRAP, skilled and internationally trained workforce. I mean, we have highly qualified doctors who are coming back from the US or Europe, and they are the one who can become our like first choice as a principal investigators. Cost effectiveness definitely is there. Diverse genetic pool is another reason. High disease burden, treatment naive patient population, access to the rare and genetic diseases. I mean, on the top of it, I will say the talent which is we have the available. If we can basically create the talented teams and the culture, I will say, believe me, we can definitely win the lot of clinical trials from the rest of the world. Lastly, I will say conducting and managing clinical trials in full compliance is not a job or is not even a project. It's rather a training, it's a mindset, it's a research culture, and above all, it's a passion to bring the new treatments to the patients for their unmet medical needs. Next slides. And thank you, and my apologies for taking a little longer than the time allocated. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Omar, it was a detailed presentation, but I must say we have, noted points from your and Jaleeja's presentation. And if we have to sum up, we know that Pakistan's landscape is very important. We have talent, we have capabilities. But Jaleeja has mentioned that there are several points that we need to improve on if we need to meet the global standards. So moving forward, before moving to our next speaker, I once again announce that we are going live on YouTube, and you can share your comments and your questions in chat, Zoom's and YouTube's chat panel, and you can particularly write your questions in QA panel of Zoom. So up next is Dr. Babar Saeed. He's going to deliver his talk on capacity building training, the next generation of clinical research, and mentoring young investigators to strengthen Pakistan's research ecosystem. Dr. Babar, he was a healthcare management consultant in WHO, EU, FPAP, and partners. He is a clinical researcher and is also a president of the ACRP Ambassadors Club Pakistan, and he has been an honored speaker on several platforms, and he has taken this role very passionately. So, Dr. Babar, over to you. Dr. Babar, are you there?
Yeah, you said.
Oh,
Assalamu alaikum. Thanks to the Trial 360 team, its leadership, and of course the whole team members. The brief introduction has already been there, but the simplest introduction is I'm a person who is trying to justify his existence by contributing, in whatever humble capacity I can. In last since CTSP Clinical Trials Summit of Pakistan 2025, which we had in the February, we are seeing a lot of activity happening, alhamdulillah, in different places. There were 6 conferences which I attended, and there were lots of webinars and workshops. And these things are reflecting, these activities are reflecting the surge which is happening in Pakistan to address clinical research things. And it's these small islands, I'm sure, I mean, these islands will coalesce and will develop an umbrella of clinical research which will cover the whole of the country. Next slide, please. So the previous two presentations were more about the structured things which needs to be done, which needs to be with the challenges, the statistics, and the nuts and bolts of clinical research. I was assigned this topic, which is more of a philosophical and academic type. But this is also very, very important to how we can build capacities of the individuals, and how we can and in the organizations to come up with some really meaningful results. Just building the capacity is really not enough. What is more important is the direction and the purpose. I normally use examples and analogies to understand things better. And in my childhood, I remember an event in which I saw there was a gas pipeline which was to be laid in our street. I was very young at that time, probably 7-8 years. I'm 65, by the way, right now, but still I remember. What actually happened is that they dug some place to put the steel pipeline for the gas in the street, and there were pieces of the pipes which needs to be joined. I remember there were 8 laborers and there was one supervisor. When the proximity of the 2 of the pipes was not really very close, so they thought probably they can push the pipes close to each other and then they can weld. What actually happened, the supervisor asked 4 of the laborers to go on one side and 4 of the laborers to the other side. And he just called now, and all 4 from one side was putting the force on one direction, and the other 4 was putting the force on the other direction, so it was nullified. You remember, I mean, the thing is that summation of the vectors is important when we are aligning, when we are putting any capacity, any power, any force. So this is really an important thing. Now, capacity without the alignment is again a serious problem. Next slide, please. If we are asked to go to Multan from Lahore, and we have the best driver, we have the best car, and we are moving at the speed which is the limit of the M2, even sometimes crossing it when there is no the guns to assess the speed. But we are moving on M2 rather than M3. So what is happening that we're just moving towards the west rather than southwest? This is where the importance of the alignment is concerned. Whenever we are trying to come up with any of the want to attain any target, then our alignment with the direction should be very, very clear and should be very, very precise, so that we can reach in the shortest possible time, in the best possible way, in the best condition. Next slide, please. Now, relevance is another very important point. All of us are having our specific traits. God has gifted all of us with some good qualities, which many of the time even we don't understand. We don't really know. We haven't realized the traits, good traits which we do have. So bank on your good traits, and this is going to give you a lot of confidence. and that is going to give you make you attain the knowledge, and that all these things are done to achieve some large purpose. If the capacities are not aligned, if our understanding and our knowledge is not aligned and not relevant, then probably we will be doing a lot of things, but that is not going to help us. This illustration which I'm trying to use to make people understand things what I'm talking about, as these are philosophical things, that makes you understand things pretty clearly, that turning knowledge into action is important. Mere increasing your cognition from C1 to C3, or mere improving your attitude, or mere developing your psychomotor skills is not enough. What is important is that if that knowledge is not turned into action, it's like a bird in a cage. Knowledge is like a bird in a cage. I mean, just sitting in a cage, you just cannot really realize how beautiful it looks when it's flying. But when it's go and out and fly, then that makes a lot of a difference, and you can really conceive and understand what's happening. Then the impact of whatever science we are generating, that has to have some impact. If that is not having any impact, just to mark a checkbox or something, that is really not correct. And that impact transformation of the science should also serve for the larger purpose. Many of the time we are pretty self-centered, and we try to focus on things which are important for us, like presenting a paper, or presenting in a conference or somewhere, not to really have acknowledgement of your own self. Rather, we should have a larger purpose, and that the fringe benefit is of course your own recognition and your own preferences and priorities of the people. But the thing is that every effort and every capacity building should be for a larger purpose. In research, what is more important about for us is the human elements in the capacity building. I mean, you see, next slide, please. Next slide, please. So I think further next, please. The whole idea is about the understanding, the knowledge, the capacity building, and of course, after that, the application of all those things to get things done. Adaptive competency, we a lot of time see people are just saying that that's how I am, like me or leave me. That's not the right thing to do. If we cannot adapt to the given situation, if we cannot adapt to the requirement, if you're not flexible, if we are not really resilient, then it is difficult to achieve the objective. And cognitive competencies, again, is something very important. Critical thinking and problem solving are core components of cognition. It's easy to remember. If somebody's saying that, yes, I mean, what's your name? My name is Babar, and they remember. That's just at C1 level, and they understand that. But when there are complex 3, 4, 5 variables, and you have to really analyze and synthesize, and then come up with something concrete, that is what basically is the enhancement of the cognitive competency. Then of course no one can do everything with one person. Correct leadership and correct your vision, your mission statement, your smarts, they do play an important role, but the teamwork is crucial and important. And in the teamwork, communicating, if you're not collaborating, and if you're not really building the team, building the aligning the way we conduct our business, then it is difficult to attain any specific objective. Now, about the personal competencies, a lot of time this happens that if we have a very good voice, but we don't have a good beat sense, then probably yes, we can sing, but voice would be appreciated. But if not the right beat, then probably that's not going to make any buzz. So many times we see that there are some blind spots. We feel that this lot of shortcoming which we do have with us, but we are not aware of that. Nobody is informing us, or even we are not reflecting on our own self and not trying to identify what shortcomings we have, and this relies on our strengths. Then every new day is a new day. We have to have continuous learning, continuous improvement, like in the cases, the Japanese concept, like the Prophet said that every next day should be better than the previous day. So this is important, that continuous. Of course, it comes with the achievement, and then if you want to do something and you achieve that, you get motivated. That's correct. But motivation should be more of again for a bigger purpose. Next, please. Next slide, please. Now, correct that the concept of university is no more very much prevailing, and the coming concept is about the multiversities, and we need to learn from the street, from the market, from the places, from the structured learning is as important. Like if you're talking about clinical research, then there are a few things which we need to understand and learn spirit both, like the epidemiology and biostat, like the I said GCP things, the ethics, regulatory, scientific writing. If somebody, and I was really impressed by Dr. Umar Hayat, because he's a chemical engineer, he said, and he was talking a lot of sense about the clinical research. So that is what is required, that you need to be open. I mean, it's not somebody's ownership to be addressing any specific field. Nowadays, when I was in States, one of my friend was he was 72, and he took admission in new bachelor's to learn astronomy. He was a biological scientist, but he took a new admission in the astronomy. So it's a continuous process, and learning is really crucial, but structured training is what is required in a very formatted, in a very regulated, in a very sensitive domain like clinical research. Now, the leadership is again something. It's a trait which is crucial, and in clinical trials, if the leader is not taking a bird eye view of whatever is happening in his organization, then probably things go haywire and things don't align, and things don't come up with, as was mentioned in the previous presentation, that of thousands of the trial, the conversion from research to publication, the conversion was very, very minimal. So that is not really very good. So leadership needs to address whatever is required, and that whatever capacity is required to be built in the team members, that is important, that needs to be done. And of course, leaving a legacy is something which everybody wants to do once they're not there, and that's what I'm trying to do. And there's a reason of coming back to Pakistan, that if some clinical research activities are aligned in such a way that the comparable men can leave a legacy here, and that is the role of the research mentors, and that's what they need to do. A continuum of the growth that needs to be done, that needs to be addressed. Next, please. Next slide, please. Can I have the next slide, please? Well, Taha, can I have the next slide, please? A little few things for the upcoming new investigators. I'm seeing this trend, the use of artificial intelligence and use of big data. I mean, that is there, and that's very, very important. Yeah, I mean, okay. So we jump to the probably the second slide. So this is the correct slide now. To strengthen Pakistan's research ecosystem, we need to go beyond individual excellence rather than a supportive national structure. And a lot is happening in this. Tell you, RAP is looking into their shortcomings and coming up with bright ideas, shortening up the processes, and parallel processing is happening now with the NBC and the RAP. All those things are required. Convey the message. The advocacy is important. Everybody is talking about the addition of value in the research, and that's how we recognize. We need to give exposure, and this kind of activity which is happening today, and of activities which are happening in many institutions is very nice exposure. Training, I'm a little concerned. Continuous training is required, but local trainings, we are yet to have one good clinical research. No university is offering masters in clinical research, those kind of specific things. Some universities I know are working, even my university, NUMS, is working on that, and we may shortly be introducing the new master's course program in clinical research. But training is crucial. And of course, the compensation, because demand and supply is the norms of the market. But I mean, people who are working for something bigger, some cause which is important, then they should be really compensated. And the compensation is normally done at very later stage. It should be from the beginning. I mean, the junior people who are coming up with and then choosing this field and discipline as a career, they should be compensated well. Next, please. Oh, I think we're jumping the slides. So can you come back, please? Next to this, yes. All right. What I was talking about is that the artificial intelligence and the technology is giving lots of answers. But I tell you one thing, this technology is using the existing information. The language size is becoming bigger and bigger. The duplication time, I remember when I was the medical student, at that time, the duplication time for the medical side was almost 6 to 7 years. And now I'm saying it's 73 days. So there is enormous development and progress in the knowledge. But that AI is only getting whatever is there. It can assist in getting more and more information. But I tell you, who needs to really ratify that? Who needs to give authentication to that knowledge is, of course, a human factor, and that is important. If you remember, if somebody breaks his, in the old days, we used to have a plaster cast for the fractures. And when we used to open, let's say, for a radius, your forearm bone is fractured, and then after 6 weeks, when the plaster cast is open, then one arm was thin than the arm which is being used. Why? Because of the disuse, because it was not used. I tell you, we're basically electrical beings, and if we don't use our brain much and only depend on things, then there'll be less and less gray. There won't be much of the synapses and the interaction of the neurons, and there won't be much of the memory. So I would urge my upcoming replacers, people who will be replacing us, that please don't make your mind sleep. Don't just gather information. Find that information and then think and analyze that thing and come up with the solutions and create things, because this is not going to create something. That's my message, and that's my an experienced and I would say suggestion to the upcoming investigators, that whenever the humans will be there, diseases will be there, because people have to die. And whenever diseases are there and upcoming diseases are there, new treatment modalities, new diagnostic modalities will be required. And if that will be required, then of course clinical research will be there. So there's a big promise in this discipline. And if you're doing things right, with the right way, getting the correct information, getting it accredited, and getting it structured, and futuristic, then I tell you, there's a big, nice career for all of you. With this, can we move next? And probably that will be the last slide. With this, let's conclude that we need to advocate this concept of evolving clinical research in Pakistan, which is now pretty much visible and pretty much audible at all the major institutions. We need to expose opportunities and collaborations locally, and then there's a lot happening internationally as well, because there's a shift of clinical research from west to east, because that has been mentioned by the Juleja and Umar both, that there's a shift because of the cost efficiency, because of the timing, because of the disease burden, because of the diversity in the human resource here, and then of course the treatment naive patient population. Then the training needs to be more structured and more authentic, and of course the compensation, because people and then sponsors, they feel that it's easier and it's cheaper here, but the compensation is not as much as it should be as in the West. So with this, I conclude my presentation, and thank you very much, and congratulations for holding this really a very effective and good webinar, which covered pretty much. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Babar. It was such an insightful presentation, and I must say you have touched upon a very important parts which we believe that Pakistan needs to improve on. So if I have to sum up all the points of what our speaker has said till date, it sets a very good spectrum of what the gaps we have, where we need to improve it, and how we can improve it. Starting with what Juleja has said, that Pakistan, it has a full capacity and potential to hit the global targets, to reach the market where we can actually excel in the clinical research field. But there are certain shortcomings because the clinical field is quite new in Pakistan, and previously we were not working in it, but in the very short time in the post-COVID era, we have achieved a lot. And even our regulatory bodies, they have learned a lot, and they are implementing it in any way. FDA will implement those rules in their country, and we are eventually reaching there. Then Dr. Umar mentioned that we have talent, we have capacity, and we have that unique patient pool, which in the outside world we are not going to find. And then Dr. Babar added that if we could build a teamwork here, if we could build a culture here, then definitely we can reach those targets. Continuing in the same discussion, now I would like to invite our fourth speaker, Dr. Mohammad Ahmed. He is currently serving as a Director, Clinical Trial Unit, Central Park Teaching Hospital. He's a head of pulmonology and intensivist. He will be speaking on patient recruitment success stories. Everyone, you can share your comments and your questions in question and answer panel on Zoom, as well as on YouTube's chat option. So, Dr. Ahmed, over to you.
Thank you very much. I'm Dr. Ahmed, Dr. Mohammad Ahmed. Actually, I'm a clinician, basically pulmonologist and ICU specialist. Thank you very much, Dr. Umar, for conducting this webinar, and Dr. Babar and Hulia for the comprehensive description among the needs of the trial, the needs of the sponsors, and the quality of research and human behavior to develop a good quality controlled trial, and definitely meeting all the GCP and the GDP criteria. So I think everybody had a extensive presentation. So mine will be very brief, and it will be like 3 or 4 slides. So I'll be sharing my personal experiences regarding the myths and misbeliefs of the people regarding the clinical trials. What were our recruiting strategies, and definitely what challenges did we meet, and definitely what we did to encounter those. Next slide, please. So our site, actually, I'm directing a site in the Lahore, which is the 2nd biggest city of Pakistan. So when the COVID came here as a pandemic, so that was the era when clinical trials actually shifted to the east. And apart from the oncology and the limited epidemiological trials, the other trials came into the business. So first trial hitting Pakistan in that time was regarding COVID vaccines. So that was the time when we developed as a clinical site, as a very nice site to begin back 5 years ago. So what was actually the myths and concerns? Number one, that was a pandemic. People were very concerned whether COVID is a virus or maybe another conspiracy. So at that time, to begin a trial and definitely to enroll subject for that trial was a biggest concern. So initiating clinical research during a COVID-19 pandemic and establishing and bringing in new trials, that was a biggest challenge, not only to COVID but to others as well. So what was the major concern? Number one was rapport building in terms of the clinician and the general public, because Hulia might not know the culture of the Asian countries. So whatever, I think it's the general psyche of the human being that whenever a new drug is brought to the market, so everybody concerned that I am being an experimental person. So drug is being tested on me. So whether I am a guinea pig, a rat or so that is the first concern, that people are paying for just experimenting on cells. Number two, people are concerned and feared about the new drug and the effects or the side effects associated with that drug. That is the biggest concern. The third is everybody, if it gets even a minimal of a side effect, always attributes to the drug. So everybody wants a big compensation. That's more of a common in the Western countries. So compensation was the biggest concern. So these were also the concerns in Pakistan. So first, our goal was to build a rapport between the hospitalist and the general public, that trials are made. And because at the stage we were conducting phase 3 trials, so the drug was already tested for phase 1 and 2 and the animal models. So these were, the safety was relatively established. So we wanted a relatively larger pool of the population so that evidence-based medicine can be created. So rapport building was the biggest concern. Then, yes, I noted few points from the Hulia's presentation. So the one was that paper-based data is the biggest concern. So we ran through the paper-based data and we came across another clinical trial where the requirement was to meet with the e-diaries. So answering to you, Hulia, that Pakistan, yes, paper-based data is difficult to manage and to record keep is also difficult. The sites in Pakistan has been working on e-diaries as well. Apart from the Aga Khan University, our site has been also part of the trial with e-diaries were managed. So Pakistan has hands-on experience with the e-diaries with real-time data incorporation. So people do enter their side effect profiles, their vitals, their findings, and the data is present in real base. So the concerns of that the data can be altered or the data can be misinterpreted or there can be delayed, so that concern is ruled out in Pakistan. So Pakistan has been doing with the e-diaries. Next was maintaining participant compliance and follow-up. Yes, when the people were enrolled for the first time, so it was difficult for them to comply, that we have to be compliant with it. This trial is not that you are diseased and you went to a hospital, you got your medication, you are good enough and you're good to go. No, we had to convince them, we had to educate them. And now for 5 years, we had a good grip regarding the compliance, that people in the population living the nearby areas, and the team is well trained who can guide the people that how is the clinical trial is conducted and how can you comply with data and how's the follow period is conducted. So people are now compliant and being followed up for the longer period of time as well. And the other, there were many misconceptions as well. I shared few. Apart from the being a guinea pig, a rat for the experimentation, the major concern is always infertility, that these vaccines are made to make people infertile so that population of the world can be counter-regulated. So these myths were all addressed and people are very well aware of the clinical trials. Next slide, please. I'm sharing, my part was to share the success stories. Next slide, please. So we developed a Central Park Teaching Hospital, a site where a dedicated team to clinical trial unit of 40 members was enrolled, number one. Number two, a dedicated site was built for that. Number three, all the team members were trained according to the GCP and the GDPs. And not only they were trained once, we had it a repeated course and refresher course as well. So, and also when the validation of the GCP and GDP was expired, so we had to renew them as well. So we did all the measures to enhance the capacity building of the team. Number two, to continue the needs of the trial, and also we trained them according to the protocols as well. So recruitment, I'm just sharing few of the stories that what we were offered and what our team established during these 5 years. So first trial in Pakistan, regarding when I said we started this site, it was COVID-19 vaccine trial. So the target allotted to us were 1,000 healthy volunteers to enroll for vaccine, and our site did 1,352. So 30% more than the given quota to enroll them according to the standards. Next trial, we were given 1,000 subjects for another vaccine trial, and you can see that our site enrolled 2,158 subjects. So more than 200% we enrolled these subjects. Then it was not only to COVID. Then after the COVID, we established the site and established the links, and also the sponsor developed trust in Pakistan and trust in our site. So they came to business that Pakistan is a good potential site, and they are providing not only the good number of subjects, but also the good quality of data. That's why they brought new trials. So we had a pediatric influenza trial. So it was the first pediatric trial at our site, and the subjects allotted were 58, and again we enrolled 86. So about 70% more than the given trial. Next, then we jumped beyond the vaccine and preventive trial. We came into business for the treatment trials. So these were the COVID treatment trial with the drug as a therapeutic trial for those cases who had a mild disease of COVID. So the allotted subjects were 4, and we recruited 5 subjects, again 25% more than the given number. And then coming into rare diseases, always whenever there are rare disorders, they are also difficult to find and difficult to manage as well, and have a longer period of compliance and follow-up. Macular degeneration treatment, and for that the target was 2 subjects, and we also recruited 2 subjects. They were very difficult to find. We had a strong network to find these people and definitely to enroll them. Now, coming from that treatment trial, recently our site enrolling hepatitis delta. Hepatitis delta is very rare. Hepatitis delta is always associated with hepatitis B. So hepatitis B is itself very uncommon. So B, and then finding a D on hepatitis B was very difficult to find. But first of all, I would like to present here that we had a license for phase 2 clinical trial as well. So we are running parallel 2 trials for hepatitis D. One is a phase 2 and the other one is phase 3. So in one trial, 5 subjects were allotted to us, and we enrolled 8. And another trial, we enrolled 4. We were given 4 subjects, and we enrolled 8 subjects for that. And so again, 200% more than the given. So the site is very well equipped and trained to recruit subjects. So there are 5 or 6 more trials in pipeline for this. So what I'm sharing is that our site is established and equipped to recruit more subjects. How did we come to this situation? How did this happen to our site that we enrolled these subjects and definitely good. So first of all, it's a tertiary care hospital with 600 bed equipment. So first we developed is number 1, a good clinical trial team. We had, I would go for next slide, please. We enrolled a good quality team of 35 to 40 people, where number 1, I myself as a director, then we enrolled about 10 doctors, then pharmacists, then lab technologists and technicians and call center boys and computer data operators. Everybody was trained according, and then they were taken test of this documentation for the GCPs and the GTPs, and then again refresher course for them. There were few partners of the other clinical CROs as well who conducted different GCP and GTP training sessions. We enrolled them for that, and also we trained them for the capacity building. Number 2, our site has a different satellite clinics. So there are different satellite clinics available which refer patient to our site. Number 3, we made outreach team. Whenever a disease is found to be prevalent in a particular area, we had an outreach team which used to go there and used to conduct a little session among those people, like if a disease is if it is related to healthy volunteers or it is related to a particular disease burden. People used to go there and arrange a gathering of few people. So they wanted to explain them what is the disease or what is the trial, and they wanted to come people towards our side if they have any questions on that. For that, we had also multiple sessions. We also arranged few of symposias in our site as well, where general population was invited, our hospital was also invited, and all the employees of the hospital were invited, and also presenters were arranged from the different sites so that everybody can be made aware of the clinical trial. So, and also I'm basically a pulmonologist. So there is a pulmonology group all across Pakistan. And similarly, when we've had a trial of gastroenterology, the gastroenterologists have a pool. They have a WhatsApp group, they have an email group of all the gastroenterologists. If I am running a trial here, so what we used to do is that we run that clinical protocol among that group of gastroenterologists or pulmonologists that we are running this trial, and we need such people if they can be sent to our site and enrolled, if they are willing, so that we can enroll. So we had a diverse approach to gather to cater these subjects to enroll in this trial, and then definitely a qualified team to conduct a good quality clinical and public awareness of clinical trials in Pakistan. Backside again, via joint efforts. Previous slide, please. In holding symposias, conferences, and involving, and also we had a multiple press conference along with the health minister as well. I myself presented there for the general public awareness, and the question and answer session were taken to make them aware, and strengthen and recruitment through referral programs, satellite clinics, departmental collaborations, and doctors and hospitals all across Pakistan. Advertisement, which were allowed by the according to the DRAP regulation, strengthening our informed consent and all the SOPs and trainings of our investigators and the other coordinators frequently, and everything was ensured with a good compliance of the DRAP. We had multiple meetings, and I'm very thankful to the DRAP as well. DRAP, when lots of trials came into business, the DRAP come forward. They took the first step there, and they had a meeting with all the sites that there are multiple trials, so let's grow together, let's learn together, let's make new SOPs together. DRAP and NBC, National Bioethical Committee, they came to our site as well, and I was called in as a personnel as well as an expert to have a meeting that how we can make new SOPs, how we can improve our SOPs, how can be these subjects made safe among all the procedures, and then they developed new regulations as well, and they began to develop new timelines. So everything is streamlined now recently. So DRAP, I'm very thankful to the DRAP team as well. Next slide, please. So just concluding, because everybody had a detailed discussion. So we are continuing to grow through collaboration, compliance, and community engagement, and we are committed to excellence in clinical trial. Thank you very much, Dr. Umar, for arranging this webinar. I've just shared my site's enrollment and also shared my approach of recruiting subjects, and definitely how we improve and continue to excel our team in their capacity building program. Thank you very much.
No, thank you, Dr. Mohammed Ahmed. In fact, thanks Trial 360 team. They are the one who are behind the holding this seminar.
Thank you, Dr. Umar. Thank you, Dr. Mohammed Ahmed. That was an interesting conversation, and it was good to see that how Pakistani sites are working to engage patients and to meet the international standards. So moving forward to our final talk, I would like to invite Dr. Mehwish Ansari. She will deliver her talk on regulatory reforms in Pakistan. She is a Deputy Director of Quality Management Systems at Drug Regulatory Authorities of Pakistan, DRAP. So, Dr. Mehwish, please begin.
Good morning, all of you. Am I coming through okay?
Yes, you are audible, and we can see you fine. Thank you.
Yeah. So, good morning, everyone. Thank you for inviting. It's a pleasure to join you today to speak on a topic that sits at the heart of public health, scientific advancement, and the patient safety. It's been an extensive discussion around the clinical trials since 10 a.m. in the morning. The opportunities, the market, the need, the ecosystem in Pakistan, the competency of the workforce, and definitely the anthropological aspects around the clinical trials by the subject matter expert, Dr. Hulia, Dr. Umar, Dr. Babar Saeed, and Dr. Ahmed. I would just discuss the gaps and what we are doing to fill those gaps, not as a regulatory authority, of course, but we can only do it collectively. So clinical trials are the bridge between the scientific discovery and its translation into the clinical practices for the safety of the patient. So these are the only system which can prove that the drug is safe, effective, and beneficial for the patient. But the history has shown us when the bridge is weak or poorly regulated, the consequences can be devastating. So please, can we move to the first slide? So why clinical trial regulation is important? This is the question, and we learned it the hard way. So next, please. So why are the safety of our drug product is important? Why transparency in the clinical trial important? Why is the credibility and ethical values are important? Next, please. So we have, bear with me, but let me start with the brief historical reflection that thalidomide tragedy. So in the late 1950s, thalidomide was marketed as a sedative and prescribed widely to pregnant women for morning sickness. At that time, regulatory oversight was minimal and the drug was introduced without adequate clinical testing. And we all, as health professionals, we have all read the history, and we all know how devastating it was, that it was resulted in catastrophic 10,000 babies worldwide with the severe birth defects. And that thalidomide case changed the global course of pharmaceutical regulation forever and led to the introduction of stringent preclinical and clinical testing requirements, the development of GCP standards, and the establishment of regulatory authorities and ethical committees worldwide. And the most stringent regulation we see today, US FDA, in 1937 was promulgated after this strategy. So that reminds us why human subjects need to be protected, why data need to be reliable and scientifically valid, and how trials should be conducted ethically, transparently. And by ensuring all of these, we can only assure the safe and effective products for each patient. Next, please. So now turning to Pakistan, the Drug Regulatory Authority of Pakistan oversees all the aspects of clinical trials under the biostudy rules framed under DRAP Act 2012. So you can see we have a nascent system of clinical trial regulation in Pakistan. So within DRAP, the Clinical Studies Committee is responsible for reviewing, approving clinical trial application, and we ensure, considering our capacity and our available resources, that each study meets the scientific, ethical, and regulatory requirement before human subjects are enrolled. Next, please. So clinical trial in Pakistan also require ethical approval from NBC or its accredited institutional review board. The dual oversight, rather I would say the triple oversight first from the institution and then the NBC in parallel with DRAP. Definitely we ensure that nothing remains unreviewed or unauthorized or unapproved. As of now, DRAP has granted approval for around 89 clinical trials. There might be 10 or 12 more, which we are now about to approve or in the process of approval. How, as you already heard in Dr. Umar's presentation, there was a mention of 400 trials altogether. So there is a gap which we need to fill, that there are trials being conducted and there are definitely very good trial sites. There are very good competent teams who are conducting the trials, but since the regulation is new, the system is new, we need to do an advocacy that there is a system, there is a regulatory authority which is approving the clinical trials. So this is the brief you can break down of the clinical trials which are being approved by the draft and are available on the website as well. Next, please. This is again the different types of the trials and their validity and the sites which are valid. Some are expired and some are definitely new clinical trials site which are being included in the scenarios. Next, please. Again, the same, the difference in the trial, how much are the multinational and how much are the national. Next, please. So this is just an overview of how our system is having currently enrolled clinical trial sites, bioanalytical labs, BAB study centers, and their breakdown. Next, please. Next, I will move quickly through these so that we can discuss the main thing, that is how we are going to move forward. Next, please. So these are our online available resources. We have our rules, all of the rules available online. We have clinical trials guidelines, application guidelines, process flow and timelines, list of approved and rejected application, ADR and AE reporting system, and clinical trials oversight regulation. We have all these resources available on the website, just like we have these resources on website for other regulatory functions. So next slide, please. And next, here we are, you can say internationally, Pakistan is also engaged in WHO Global Benchmarking Tool Assessment. And here we can show that clinical trial for drugs, we have a score of 92%. So we can see as a nascent system or as a nascent organization, we are doing pretty well in the regulation of clinical trials. And definitely there are a few gaps which we can cover together. So this is where we stand internationally for the regulation of clinical trials for pharmaceuticals. Next, please. Next, please. So I think for most of the audience and the panelists, this is the most important slide that where we are going forward. So let's now talk about the reforms which are currently underway to modernize and to expand our regulatory framework, not only for the national stakeholders, but for the international stakeholders, because this is a global market. So we are reviewing the biostudy rules to include medical device diagnostics and health products, because currently we are following GCP guidelines, but we are now adding the standards for medical devices and diagnostics, which are ISO 14155, ensuring the consistent standard across all the therapeutic goods, because we are approving the clinical trials for devices and diagnostics, but definitely there is a gray area which we have identified, and we are making sure that we include these guidelines in our rules and definitely in guidelines in the future. And the second one is we are already working on parallel submission with the NBC. So there is no need of getting NBC approval first and then come to draft. We accept the application in parallel, and we are now working closely with the NBC committee to harmonize review timelines and to avoid duplication of any efforts. And the goal is to provide the sponsor and investigator with a clear, faster and more predictable approval pathways. So they can know how our application would be evaluated, how it will go further, and what a regulatory body is expecting from them to submit. Again, without compromising the safety or ethics. Next is digitization of regulatory process. That is a major step forward, which is a digitization which is generalized for draft. And online portal is already in beta testing, but we are working closely with stakeholders in developing an efficient online submission where we can review each and every step which is going on for the regulatory approval for clinical trials. And that will allow electronic application, real-time tracking, automated notification, and integration with the National Trial Registry. This will reduce definitely manual delays, improve transparency, and enhance the coordination among the reviewers and ethical bodies and sponsors. The next thing in improving the clinical trial regulation, Pakistan DRAP has established a GCP inspectorate and is building inspector capacity to conduct both on-site and benchtop audit, so that we can see where we need to have an on-site visit, and we can on the basis of risk-based approach and trend analysis, we will see that whether on-site audit is required or not. And again, with digitization, with continuous flow of data among the regulator and the sponsor and CROs, this further will increase the efficiency of the whole regulatory processes. So we recognize the sponsor and CROs sometimes face challenges as extended approval timelines, definitely sometimes lack of clarity on regulatory expectations in few gray areas, which we have identified not only ourselves but with our stakeholder consultation, and sometimes delay in ethics coordination. So we are working on all of these together in parallel, so we can improve and enhance the regulatory process around the clinical trials. And definitely, like Dr. Hulia said, and Dr. Umar Hayat and Dr. Babar Saeed, that we definitely going to make Pakistan not only a reliable country with a reliable system to conduct clinical trial, but definitely to play our part in the access of medicine, for which first part is definitely a clinical trial data. So this is all from my side. Just to conclude, clinical trials have to be ethical, safe and credible, along with all other these things. And as a regulator, definitely as a clinician, as a regulator, as a contract research organization, as scientists, our collective aim is to ensure the patient safety. So that's all from my side. Thank you so much. Available for any of the questions which you might have, and any input from our partners, from stakeholders. Thank you.
Thank you, Mavish.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Mavish. This was really interesting to see the DRAP's viewpoint on all the clinical pathways and how DRAP is, contributing their 2 cents in the process. So with Dr. Mavish, we have concluded our main speaker session. Thank you all the speakers for such an insightful and knowledgeable talk, and I'm very sure you all have learned a thing or two from here. So it's time that we move to our Q&A session and open discussion segment. So before moving ahead, I request all the participants that if you have any question and you want to interact with panelists, you can use the Zoom feature to raise hand. And with that, our IT team is going to give you an access to mic and video, and you can directly interact with the panelists. And I also request all the speakers to please turn on your cameras and be available. We are going to now initiate our question and answer session.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Pushpa. Thanks, Mavish. It was really nice to see you. I mean, as a actor at DRAP, and I see there is a lot of movements going on. Digitalization is one of them. I saw also Dr. Obaid being working with different regulatory bodies. This is what was needed, and I'm really glad to see that.
So let me request Dr. Syed Munawar Ali. He is the head in clinical research. He has presented his one suggestion. I request Dr. Syed Munawar to please unmute your mic, and he can present his suggestion to the panelists. Meanwhile, when Dr. Syed Munawar Ali is approaching, we have a couple of questions. So our first question is for Julija. So Julija, one of our anonymous participants, he had asked that what are the top 3 reasons the global sponsors they pause or move clinical trials in Pakistan, and how we can improve that?
Yes, basically the question is very wide because we need to understand why sponsors and how sponsors are selecting countries where to conduct clinical trials. First of all, they need to know that it's not very expensive. Of course, that country is not the most expensive country where to go and to conduct clinical trial. Of course, there can be some exceptions when sponsors are willing to go with the later on with the marketing activities as well. But let's say sponsors first are viewing country as a country with a number of specific ill patients with a specific disease. Then they are looking how it's easy or hard to receive approvals from regulatory authorities. And then they also must see that there are appropriately trained investigators, appropriately equipped sites, and if there are, of course, and what is the cost for monitoring activities, and what is the cost to conduct a trial, overall trial, yeah. Currently, we need to understand, first of all, we need to prepare, we need to know what kind of clinical trials and how many sites and what kind of patients we can offer, yeah, in Pakistan. Because you saw that according to number of certified sites in Pakistan, some site certificates have expired. Then we need to understand if we would like to renew those certificates or we would like to offer new sites and offer then those sites for specific indications. Yeah. That's why I think that this is a complex of things we need to reach in order to offer Pakistan as a great clinical trial to international sponsors. Yeah. Currently, first of all, we need also to think if we need to understand how many currently sites we have and what kind of indications we can offer at those sites. Yeah. And then we need to think what kind of indications else we can offer to the customers and if we have appropriately set up sites. Yeah. That's why it's like it's not answers that can be answered in one sentence. It's an understanding of environment from different perspectives. That's why I cannot answer this in one question, but we need to analyze. We need to analyze and we need to understand what we can offer. And in the future, we need to understand if we would like to develop more sites, yeah, and to offer then those sites to the customers, to the international sponsors. And then we also must, again, I'm going back to this collaboration because this is my experience. I live in a small country, but still we were collaborating with the regulatory authorities. We were providing our concerns as well to regulatory authorities. For example, back in 2004, it was very hard in my country to receive approvals. And that's why customers, international customers, they were not very, let's say, active to go to my country. That's why we worked with the regulatory authorities. We provided our concerns from the CRO perspective, yeah? And we also discussed with the sites, and we also tried to provide to the sites what kind of requirements they need to reach in order then international sponsors will be selecting those sites. In Pakistan, it's easier because you have a list of sites, yeah? And in my country, it was harder because we don't have one common list where we can see which sites are approved, which sites are not approved. Yeah? For Pakistan, it's even easier. Yeah, that's why infrastructure, cost effectiveness, number of sites, number of potential patients, yeah, and as well as infrastructure as well. Environment. Yeah.
So I think Julita, you touched some of very key points, and I will have to reiterate, even though you say you cannot answer, but you have listed all the points which the question was about. And I think, Mavish, for you, the message is the patient, of course, they're always sponsors are after the patient. That's number one. Number two, really in the order, as Julita put, is the timelines for the approval from the regulatory body. That's a number two. Number three, of course, is the clinical sites and the principal investigators. I mean, if principal investigator has done so many trials and they go on the clinicaltrial.gov and they see basically who is there. And then the clinical sites. And of course, I heard also Dr. Mohammed Ahmed, and we are enrolling quite a number of patients for hepatitis delta. I wish that would be the case, because then, because hepatitis delta is either in Pakistan or Mongolia or Kazakhstan or Tajikistan. Those are few countries where those patient population is. So we will end up being the majority enrollment sites, and that will definitely trigger the inspection. And this way, that will give us the international exposure and reputation which is needed basically to bring the trials to Pakistan. I mean, once the trials start coming in, people have the experience. Believe me, there was a time everybody was going to the Ukraine. Okay, that was the place where everybody was running to get the trials. We speak English. I mean, that's another additional advantage. We have extremely highly qualified expats who are coming back to the Pakistan. I mean, if you look at the per capita doctors in the US, you know which country is on the top? It's a Pakistan. Every third, fourth, fifth doctor is a Pakistani doctor. Okay, and even if you look at the APNA, it's the strongest organization. It's the only organization actually from Pakistan who is very strong outside the Pakistan. So I think we have all the elements which is needed to bring the clinical trials to Pakistan. It's all we need is basically the collaborations, as Julija was mentioning. And then I think Dr. Ahmed brought a very good points, and then capacity building, as Dr. Ahmed was pointing out. And even on the regulatory, there are a lot of movements. I think we need that ecosystem to bring the more trials. It's no more the option. I mean, there is we were trying to track the trial because of business, blah, blah, blah. That's not even any more relevant, because with the personalized or precision medicine, you know how the US is. I mean, you don't get the approval in the US for any product if the American population is not a part of the trial. Okay, so then we will be having the products, but may not be effective, or may not be our genetic relevant. Nowadays, even there is now the diagnostic cuts coming up. Basically, what they do is they screen your drugs before even they can prescribe you, because not every medicine is for everybody. So, no, thank you very much, Julija. I think you have touched very, very key points, and we appreciate your experience and contribution. Thank you.
Dr. Umar, Julija has covered all the necessary points. I so agree with you. And one thing that I have picked from her conversation is that regulation is the extremely important part. And that is the main hindrance that the sponsor has actually mentioned that they are facing to conduct trials in Pakistan. And she mentioned another point, that what sites we have, what patient pool we have, maybe if we could make this information more accessible to the outside world, maybe we can improve on this part. So I would like to take Dr. Mehwish take on that. What comment she would like to pass on this? Dr. Mehwish, over to you.
Just like Dr. Julija said, that we have listed and we continue to update the list of approved sites on DRAP's website. So it's as far as the sites listing is concerned, DRAP website is very effective because we have all the information. Although we are you can say we have to upload it separately, and we are now designing a system that everyone with every trial, every site which get approved is automatically uploaded or added to that list. So we don't have to duplicate our efforts for first approving and then adding it to then to verifying the list every time. So it is already on the website, but we are making it more efficient than with every meeting or every approval, the list is going to be updated automatically. So that will be better in recent future, inshallah. Hopefully.
But believe me, Dr. Mehwish, I do champion for the DRAP, saying that we have the timelines which were very short, as long as they have the IND open in the competent regulatory authorities markets.
Can I add a couple of things? Well, I mean, somehow I have observed that we have a tendency of making tall claims our sites. I clearly understand and say that if we have fact-based information and then just present the means of verification for that. I mean, we're talking about the patient. If we, like, for example, Hep D, we're talking about, right? Hep D is 4 or 5 trials are happening already, and few more are coming. So if some site is having diagnosed cases of say 700-800 of FD patients in their database, that is the best thing which these sponsors looking forward to have. So if you have this the systems in place and means of verification to prove that this is the right place to come up with, that is what basically is required. Instead of you saying that we have this and that and this and that, that's correct, that's okay. And of course, the regulatory support which we have now, I mean, late transformation of DRAP is commendable, and really it's very, very nice, and we are happy with that. Thank you.
I just want to have one point here. Thank you very much, Dr. Babar, pointing out that recently most of the hospitals are developing the HMS system, so all the patients' data have been entered and retrievable. Definitely, so by single click, you can number your patients, how many diabetes patients, hypertensive, ischemic heart disease, rare disorders, connective tissue disorders, ILD, pneumonia. So everything is database available, number one. And number two, recently, few of the forums have been developing the national database. I have been part of the ICUs, I have been part of the pulmonology. So we have interstitial lung disease database. We have a database for the ICU patients. So whenever we have the data of long-term data as well for 3 years follow-up of them after the ICU discharge. So similarly, we have the highest or the biggest registry for connective tissue disorder all across Pakistan here at the CPTH. So Pakistan is developing in real time for the evidence-based database, retrievable, exact number of all the subjects. So that will be, I think, helpful. Thank you.
I would like to make just Dr. Babar Saeed's point triggered something that if we can have where we have the database of the sites, if we can link directly those sites to the website of clinical trial site, we will have a very good resource and we will have a very good a forum that where can sponsor can find that these are the sites, and these sites have the linked website which is describing each and every speciality, each and every aspect of that site, regarding the facilities available, regarding the size of the hospital, regarding the patient footfall and the population they are covering, the population percentage of population they are covering. So that would be a very good thing if we could introduce it. And again, that would only be possible with the help of or with the support of our stakeholders, including clinical trial sites and CROs. So it can be a suggestion which we can go forward with.
That's a very valuable suggestion. And mind I say now the era is jumping in artificial intelligence, and there are certain things that Dr. Babar has mentioned in his presentation that people, they are relying on artificial intelligence a lot, and maybe they are not using their mental capacity at the level where they should be. But we know that it's an era of artificial intelligence, and if we do its right use, we can take a lot of benefit from it. There is a participant, and I must say a very enthusiastic one, Mariam Ahmed. And if she is there, she can ask all her questions, or maybe one or two. So one of her questions was that now it's an era of digital health and AI. What do you think can Pakistan integrate these technologies to improve data reliability? And I asked this question to PI specifically, Dr. Babar and Dr. Ahmed. Maybe you guys can go side by side and let us know that how we can improve on that and how we can integrate more AI-based culture in Pakistan, and what will be the pros and cons for it.
I would like to take a hit on this one as well after Dr. Babar.
Yes, definitely.
Ahmed, you want to go first?
Yes, sir, I want to add,
Sure,
because I have been a presenter for a paper, and I had collaboration with the Japanese team. So they used AI for reporting of HRCT scans and everything. So there is only, the AI is a very good tool. But the major problem is AI analyzes whatever the data is available on internet. So it does not differentiate between the quality data It does not differentiate between the opinion of a 1-year experienced personnel or a 20 years experienced personnel. That is the major limitation. AI will produce whatever is available on the internet. So that is the biggest limitation in terms of diagnostics. So the need of expert personnel is always there. Yes, we can use it for mass screening. We can use it for initial or impression among the disease or the prevalence or whatsoever. But whenever need to be a diagnosis or the final decision to be made, that needs an expert opinion. That's my take on this. Thank you.
I was discussing the same thing with my last meeting with the vice chancellor. There were both the pro vice chancellors and the vice chancellor and a couple of more people, and this is exactly what we were discussing. You know what the problem in it for me, the issue is, especially in the public sector, universities and institutions, that people who are sitting in the helm of affairs where rubber is meeting the road, I mean the CTU, where patient is meeting with the investigators, that they perceive things in a different way, and decision makers, they perceive things in another way. Digitization of the data that was planned and in fact executed as well. But you know what people are doing? They're just scanning the PDFs and then loading it in the at the portal. Now, if there are separate data entry points for for every information, then we can retrieve. I mean, we can filter whatever thing we want. So need is there to understand the right way of gathering data so that we can really analyze and synthesize and come up with concrete things. And secondly, again, I would endorse what Dr. Mohammed Ahmed just said, that AI, we all know that it hallucinates quite a bit, especially when the unstructured data is put in there. So that hallucination needs to be taken into account before we make a decision based on the information we're gathering from that AI. So these are my 2 points.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Umar.
Yeah, no, I will, I 100% agree, garbage in, garbage out. So we do need to have the structured data to have like a trustworthy kind of outcome using the artificial intelligence or machine learning. So that's the fact basically, because for any technology which starts in its infancy, that's what will happen. But over the time, it will mature, because now there is a lot of emphasis to collect the structured data. But I would like to touch on in a 3 different segments. A, we are the generation who is not born with this technology, will have the difficulty to adopt. But the new generation who is born with that technology, they will just run with it. So that's number 1. So there is no way this is going to come. That's number 1. Number 2, give a little time to mature this technology. And then, because now there is a lot of emphasis, because at this point, if you use any of the AI tools, they collect the data from anywhere, everywhere, without differentiating. Okay. And there would be a time, there would be emphasis, you guys will have a local powerhouse and the structured data will be fed to that. For example, if I'm running a clinical study, I will have so many protocols run, and then I will have my in-house kind of structured powerhouse where I will be feeding the data, and that, of course, it will be becoming a very nice outcome of that. So that's the one thing which definitely will change. Now, the last point I really want to touch upon, because this is not my opinion, actually, this is 3 Nobel laureates who was talking at Stanford. This is there. So to Dr. Mohammed Ahmed's point, the AI learns from whatever we feed it. Okay. But how much we know and how much is the valid information we feed to AI to give us the answer? And here was the comment made one of the Nobel laureate. Human physiology or biology, we have a very limited knowledge. For example, look how articulate we are trying to do. Okay. From the flesh of meat, my brain is just a flesh of meat. And what's going on in terms of the electrochemical signals and how coordinated they are, how I'm even retrieving the memory of years. To understand that, we have a very fraction of that. So how you can predict based on the fraction you know and you're feeding to the AI to understand the whole human biology. So in the supply chain, in the manufacturing, in the other areas which are very much like operational and very much like a physical, there the use of the AI will definitely make a significant difference. Come to the drug discovery and utilizing like addressing the issues we have in the human physiology or biology, the knowledge is very limited. Doesn't matter. Okay. So based on the limited knowledge, we may not be able to do a big breakthrough when it comes to the drug discovery or understanding of the human physiology. So that was my last point.
Well, continuing to it, I do believe that the current challenge we have is the data we are feeding to AI, because machine learning models, they entirely depend on the sort and extent of data they have to make their decisions. But at this point, yes, that is not possible. And of course, but over the time, if we collect enough data, and I'm saying that in the coming 5 years, then AI can do the impossible task. And at that time, the biggest challenge we will have is how to contain its cognition power so it thinks in a way that humans want to, rather than develop it on its own. Well, those are one of the fears, but now there are two participants. I would like to take Mohammed Ibrahim on board. He has one question. Mohammed Ibrahim, can you please unmute your mic? Hello. I believe there's some technical issue at his end. Till the time we sort it, Mariam, can you unmute your mic? I believe there's some problem. We cannot hear these participants, but we have. Okay, but we have another question for Dr. Omar. Just give me a second. So it was a question from Dr. Sheikh Mohammed Tanveer, and he is asking that my question is for Dr. Umar Hayat to highlight few names of sites for clinical trials in Pakistan that are recognized by DRAP for multiple clinical trials.
I will rather forward this question to Mavish. I mean, she is the one who is holding the recognized sites. I think definitely there are, so to be honest, like one thing we Trial 360 wants to do, and we will continue to do, is really take the top-notch sites, because we want to build the reputation out there. Okay. And I think it would be unfair to name who is the best and who is not the best. So I will leave it undisclosed, to be honest. I don't want to take any side, but this would be our preference. I mean, CRO is always the extension of the sponsor. And we partnered with the regulatory body. I mean, how many times you will see the FDA inspector running around to oversee the clinical studies? No, none. They go only when the study is closed and data is submitted. FDA never goes to any site, whether it's a manufacturing, whether it's a clinical site, unless the data is submitted or manufacturing dossier is submitted to them. So the point is basically it's a job of the sponsor, it's a job of the CRO to manage those clinical trial sites. They are doing the pre-job of the FDA, okay? And then when the data is submitted to the FDA, that's the time the inspector starts going and doing the inspections. And that's the time basically both sponsors and the CRO, they stand on the side of the site. But before that, they both stand on the side of the regulatory body, because they are trying to monitor, they are trying to manage the site. But once the data is submitted, believe me, then you work with the site to make sure that everything is in place. So this way you pass the inspection in flying colors. So I'm sorry, I was not able to give you the exact names of.
It's absolutely fine, Dr. Umar. I think the best answer will be that the sites that we currently have, they are all trained and they are quite adept in phase 3 and 4, and they are also gaining their expertise in phase 2 now. And now DRAP has also given permission to phase 1 and pre-phase sites as well. So yeah, we are moving at that speed. We are reaching there. So there is another question for Dr. Muhammad Ahmed from Saima Mohsin, CTU I don't know, SZP GMI. So she's asking that is there some software to manage e-diaries?
Okay, the e-diaries are always according to the sponsor driven. The trial we conducted, they provided us with the smartphones. So one smartphone with an inserted dedicated SIM was given to one subject. So at the time of enrollment, the subject was trained that this is the software in this cell phone. So this is the way, how will you enter your ID number, and then how will you enter your vitals, and whatever the requirement of the trials are, whatever the details are needed to put in. So that is all, the software is always driven according to the protocol. So we have done with a smartphone, and there are other trials as well, which have been indirectly part of. They installed a software in that phone, in whatever the phone the subject has. So they used the entries on that software. So all the softwares are sponsor driven.
Thank you, Dr. Ahmed.
I will comment also, Dr. Khan, if you allow me.
Sure, go ahead.
The e-diaries, I mean, this is the one thing I want to mention. Julija mentioned the cost. Definitely it's a attraction. But for the clinical studies, it's not they're gonna do forever, right? So the cost is not a primary objective normally for sponsors to take this study to the enrollment is, the regulatory timelines are. And when it comes to those gadgets, like providing the additional equipments even, the sponsor will cooperate as long as you met all the other requirements. They will go out of their way to support you to conduct the trial in a compliance or in whatever their like a framework or the softwares they are using, or EDC system or e-sources they are using. So they will definitely provide. And I fully understand what Dr. Ahmed said, if the company sponsor has provided those, because they need to validate and they need to make sure their systems are syncing with their central lab or central database.
If I
Thank
mention,
you,
if I
Dr.
would
Wood.
like, yeah, if I can mention as well that usually in most cases sponsors are selecting vendors who have those devices set up appropriately, validated and standardized, and meaning them for every clinical trial, as it was already mentioned before, they are validating and setting up specific then those questions into those e-diaries, and meaning that this vendor is responsible for software and for also validity of those e-diaries. Thank you.
So
Thank you.
Julija, I would like to say one thing, and I'm sorry if there is a little pitch in it, because when I talk to those sponsors, and of course I'm on the CMC side, I always try to convince them that we will use wherever is the possibility to use the variables or any technology which will avoid the human intervention. So this way, this perception that they are lacking of the training is kind of like avoided. So definitely this is something we're going to constantly work, but it's a mostly decision is made by the sponsors, because at the end of the day, whatever you use, it need to sync with his data collection or compiling and storing.
Well, 2 cents from my side as well. I mean, you see, it's a time where we're seeing lots and lots of applications are coming up, and the accreditation of the device is that's again something which is important, because validity of the data will be for sure depending on the capacity of the device to handle that kind of information. So what I foresee is that, I mean, in due course of time, soon, that's not far, where there will be assessment, like if we are trying to enter in any webinar, they want to check the sound and the voice and everything. Similarly, that there'll be a qualifier from the sponsor side that your phone is qualifying to have this information or not. And once that is done, then download the application and go for it. And wearable is the answer. But wearables, Dr. Umar, I mean, photoplethysmography and other techniques which are being used now, they still have compromised sensitivity and specificity about some specific things. So if we're going there, and adoption is the key. We need to focus on that, because that is future. I mean, if we won't be opting for them, we'll be bidded out of the market.
Couldn't agree more with you, Dr. Babar. So we have a couple of questions from sponsors. They are more from participants, and they are more or less asking the same thing. Number one, that how can we, manage that scale gap? How can we train ourselves? And the one very interesting question was that what role academia, small sites, or industries can play in meeting the requirements. So I will ask Dr. Babar if you can comment on that.
Yeah, for sure. I tell you, I mean, I am a believer of self-directed learning, not examination-directed, book-directed, degree-directed, promotion-directed. I really don't like that. The thing is that the individual who is basically trying to perform needs to develop his or her capacity to match what is the requirement there from the other side. So this is the key. Now, every Tom, Dick, and Harry is offering in things. I mean, so we need to have something which is accredited, which is acknowledged, which is having authenticity. So opt for one good course rather than 3 courses, which are, I mean, they do have the same names, kind of, like for research coordinators, a lot of people are offering things. Some are good as well. I won't quote, but I mean, there's some good courses also happening. But the thing is that find one which is accredited, and it should be self-directed. And now we have lots of information available that what are the trends, what is the preferred areas, and what are the gaps, and just pick on them and then opt for the best one.
That's very accurate. So we have like time short, and my IT is saying that we should like wind it up. So I have one last question, and this is something that has been text messaged by one of the colleague who was watching on YouTube. And Julija, that question is for you. And they are saying that one of the reasons, I guess me and you have also discussed this, it's about remote monitoring. And the question was that how can we efficiently do remote monitoring, and how can we ensure that it is following the GCP guidelines?
How we can do efficiently? CRAs from CRO companies, they are doing this remote monitoring. It's a purpose, completed remotely, not on site. And how we can efficiently, first of all, there should be a specific SOP set up how to complete remote monitoring activities. It should be clearly stated in the regulatory guidelines and regulation that those remote monitoring visits are allowed. Because if a country is not allowing those remote monitoring visits, then it's not possible to conduct remote monitoring visits. Then, of course, as I mentioned, appropriate according to standards created SOPs that are clearly defining and explaining the remote monitoring visit process. And if everything is set up appropriately, then this is how we are conducting efficiently those remote monitoring visits.
I will be reluctant to even suggest in Pakistan, given the lack of the technologies and so forth. So I think we should maintain the rigorosity which is required to conduct the clinical trial, even though it's a beautiful concept, but only for Japan, South Korea, and US-like countries.
Well, I will just add that maybe eventually we can reach there, but there are steps that we can take. And well, this is something, Julija, me and you, we are going to work on it to establish that in Pakistan so we can reach that level eventually. Unfortunately, there are several more questions, but we cannot take all. So we will be answering those questions by the email. My team has already mentioned, taken up the names and email addresses, and we will be reaching you out. So
I would like to comment on remote monitoring.
Absolutely,
So,
go ahead.
Yeah, because in RAP, our main, you can say, or the highest percentage of work is conducting good manufacturing practices inspection, which we call GMP inspections. And we have been conducting those inspections for the approval of market authorization approvals. We have been conducting these inspections online virtually for other countries. So there is a mechanism which we have already been adopting for remote monitoring, and if it is something which we can adopt for this GCP inspection monitoring, we definitely can discuss it or deliberate it during our stakeholder consultations.
Thank you. I really appreciated the forward-looking thinking. Thank you.
Approach, yeah. So I think this is the one area that we have identified from this conversation that we can work together with Jalija, DRAP, and any of our investors who are interested in it. So thank you once again to all the speakers for taking out time and all the participants for for this insightful conversation. Before we end, I would like to acknowledge my team for such an effort to make this webinar possible. There are certain names. I will begin with Dr. Imran Naveed. He was coordinator for all the activities that we were doing. Taha, he coordinated with all the parties, particularly with speakers. He kept on engaging them. Mohammed Abu Bakr, he took care of Zoom and all the IT-related activities, which is well appreciated. And I must say, it went really smooth because of his efforts. Then Ikra and Saad for taking care of the chat and engaging with all the participants time to time. Daniel, he was taking care of the Zoom and also all the questions that were coming over there. And also there were participants who cannot join. So they were in touch with Daniel and he made sure that they could join our session. And Ehsanul Haq, he was there and he provided us help in logistics and gathering a lot of the material. So we are comfortably sitting in our office and we can communicate with this. So everybody, please, I know we cannot clap, but at least we can appreciate what they have done silently on our places. And
we can clap here online.
Yes, if we can, then I will say, please, we need a clap for them. They did a good job there.
Yeah, thank you.
So moving forward, can we have a group photo with all the speakers and panelists? I request that all the speakers and us, we turn on our cameras and maybe we can have one screenshot as a memoir and we can share in the social medias and with you guys as well. After it was Trial 360's first webinar that we conducted, and we were not hoping this much response, but we got good registration number, we got good participants turnover in the webinar, particularly considering it's weekend, Saturday morning, yet we got a good number who participated here. So Abu Bakr, can you unshare the screen?
You can even enlarge actually the.
So Abu Bakr, please do the multi-gallery view and let's pause, guys, and have a good screenshot here. Abu Bakr, let us know when you are done. Done?
Yeah, done.
All right. Thank you so much once again. Let me conclude with the final remark.
I think I can make announcement, or you will make announcement. The one.
I believe you should make this announcement because that will be our honor if it's a milestone that we have achieved. So, Dr. Umar, go ahead.
So, I mean, thank you very much, the team and the speakers and everybody who attended this. This is the first initiative to really build the ecosystems we want to. The other thing I really want to share, which is very important for Trial 360, as we speak, we have registered the Trial 360 in California. So we will be rebranding this as a US-based CRO with the office in Pakistan. So that was our one of the things we really wanted to do. So this way we have the presence both in the US as well as in Pakistan. And I really appreciate it. Thank you. And it was all basically by the contribution the team has done so far.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And definitely this is the one milestone that we have achieved. And now we want to work more rigorously with all our partners in Pakistan and making new connection, of course, because this is our mission to build a network through which we all can progress collectively. Thank you so much, everyone. And our details are being shown on the screen where you can approach us through email, LinkedIn, or social media. And we look forward to your comments and feedback that how we did and how we can improve next time. And once again, thank you to all the participants and speakers for joining us. Take care, everybody. Allah
Thank
Hafiz.
you.
you.
Allah
Have a
Hafiz.
good day.
Bye-bye.
Many
Bye.
thanks.
Thanks, Julija. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Thanks,
Thank
Mahvesh.
you.
Thank you, Dr. Babar.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Ahmed. Thank you. Bye-bye.